Hello, I have problem 11-1, number 5. The question asks, why is it not completely correct to describe volume as length times width times height? What is a better way to describe what volume means? And to give examples as part of your discussion using different units of volume. My Common Core standard for mathematical practice that I chose is recognize volume as an attribute of solid figures and understand concepts of volume measurement. I chose this fifth grade standard because students should already understand volume and understand how to calculate volume on multiple shapes in order to comprehend what this question is asking. Therefore, this standard applies to this problem because the student need to recognize the volume of different solid figures and understand how to measure volume in different units. We can we can split this problem into three sections. What is a better way to describe what volume means? Why is it not completely correct to describe volume as length times width times height? And show examples of different units of volume. Firstly, what even is volume? Volume is the measurement of the amount of space inside something. If you have a house, that house contains so much space. If you have a car trunk, has that car trunk has so much space. If you have a garage, that garage takes up so much space. Essentially, all objects contain a certain amount of space. Here are a few examples of objects that have a certain volume. A gallon jug of milk that you buy at the store has a certain volume of milk, which is approximately 1 gallon. If you bought a can of pop, which typically has 12 fluid ounces of pop in it, if you are cooking, you use measuring cups because these contain a certain volume of ingredients that the recipe calls for. All of these objects holds a certain and specific volume. Secondly, how do we calculate volume? And why is it not completely correct to describe volume as length times width times height? Mathematically, the way you calculate volume is by using an equation. The equation length times width times height is a mathematical equation that can help calculate the volume inside certain geometrical shapes. This equation doesn't work for all geometric shapes. There are a variety of equations available to help calculate the volume of many objects. Although for a rectangular prism, it is correct to use the equation volume equals length times width times height, this formula does not work for all shapes. For example, how would you find the volume of a sphere using this equation? There is no length to measure, no height, and no way to measure a width. Thus, there are different equations for volume that work for different shapes. The actual formula for the volume of a sphere is V equals 4/3 pi r cubed, where r is radius. As one can see, it is not completely correct to broadly say that volume is always length times width times height. Here in this picture, you can see a cube and the volume equation, rectangular prism, volume equation, sphere, volume equation, a right circular cone, the equation for that volume, a right square pyramid, volume equation, and right circular cylinder, volume equation. This displays all the different formulas for each shape and how to find different volumes for different shapes. And what is a better way to describe what volume means? To find a better way to describe the meaning of volume, we need to first look at volume's definition. The definition for volume from the dictionary is the quantity of three-dimensional space enclosed by a closed surface. For example, the space that a substance or shape occupies or contains. Volume is often quantified numerically. While the question says that volume equals length times width times height, this isn't the best way to describe the volume of something is and how much something holds. For example, in these three pictures, the first one we're going to focus on is the water. How would you measure the amount of water in this cup? Well, you would use length times width times height. And you would have to use rectangular prism. But you could also measure the amount of water in this cup by using measuring cups. Or if there was enough water to fill jugs, gallon jugs, you could use gallon jugs to measure the amount of water. How much or how would you measure how much cheese is in this slice? So how would you measure the volume of cheese in that slice? Well, you would likely use the formula for a right square pyramid. You would have to do some manipulation of the equation, but you could easily find the answer. How would you measure the volume of this cube? Well, obviously, you could count all the different squares. That would be the longest way to do it. But like our rectangular prism states, you can do length times width times height. Hopefully that helps answer your questions, and let me know if there's any questions that you have. Thanks!